Hello, everybody, and welcome to the seventh installment, which is actually after we did number 8. Today we're doing number 7. It's kind of like the Beatles coming out with their, last album before the last. We're doing the same kind of thing, and that's because we have a very special guest today, Yifat Cohen, who is a also known as GplusGoToGal on Google Plus, and pretty much anybody who's in Google Plus knows who Yifat is. So I'm not gonna repeat myself there, but she is definitely one of the gems on Google Plus. I highly encourage you to listen to her. She usually does her hangouts on, I believe it's Thursday mornings, right, Yifat?
Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, and so if you would like to listen and participate, because a lot of times she would actually invite you as well, to talk to some very fascinating people and have them be probed with some very intelligent and at the same time not what you expect questions. She is definitely a pleasure to watch, and I certainly try to get in there and listen to her doing her show as much as I can, because it's always very interesting. Of course, it's always available on YouTube after the fact. But Ifat is originally from Israel, and she now lives in the States with her family. And she is extremely knowledgeable on all things Google Plus, and also she's kind of like queen of Hangouts in many ways, because she's just the passion. When you talk to her about different things, she's passionate about Hangouts. The word Hangouts comes out more than anything else. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let her do her own introduction for a few minutes, and then we'll start a discussion with Ifat. Welcome, Ifat.
Hi, thank you so much. I mean, you're doing such a great job introducing me. I don't know what to add. Just a big invitation to all of you guys to join me on Thursdays for my unscripted shows, because you get the chance to be face-to-face with high-level experts and ask them anything that you want, unscripted, unfiltered, and I'd love to have you. So just join.
Okay. So there's a little shameless pitch.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. So one of the things, I guess, I'll ask the first question because I talk the loudest. What I wanted to know, Ifat, is we do the show here dealing specifically with answers to some questions people have regarding their businesses. Mostly we deal with small businesses. I mean, that's kind of the thrust. Businesses that cannot afford to have their own internal departments dealing with marketing, dealing with technology, dealing with finances, investments, things like that. But every single business needs to know some of the aspects of all these categories, because it's essential to being able to stay in business. And so that's why we talk about different things. Each one of us is kind of an expert in that particular area, and that's what we cover on every program on Meet the Pros. So what I wanted to ask you, I kind of put a little promo for the show initially, showing a little spark that's kind of going there. And what I wanted to ask you is, specifically, when you have a small business, and anybody who's watching us who has small business, I'm sure can relate to this. You're coming in with some knowledge of whatever it is that you're doing, so you know how to do that, and you know what to do. But everybody keeps telling you, you need to, do social media, and you need to be online, and you need to have a website. Oh, no. And for a lot of these people, it's very overwhelming. Not the fact that they don't know it. I mean, it's one problem, but they understand that, they take some time to learn, which a lot of times to be significant amount of time they may not have. Then they'll be able to do some of these things. Or they can hire people, but a lot of times this deal with hire people, unless they hire us, of course, winds up being more expensive than they can afford. And so you wind up having kind of a catch-22. You need to do this to be able to promote the business and to move forward. At the same time, you don't have the know-how and skills. So with you coaching businesses, the question specifically I wanted to ask is, how do you take that little spark that you may have, and how can you utilize whatever your recommendations you would have to blow it up into a fire, essentially, when it comes to doing business? That's my question.
So it's an awesome question, because you're right. A lot of small businesses don't have the resources nor the time to learn social media and do it right. And especially with Google changes so quickly. I mean, you can't you can spend your entire day, which is what we do, right, learning all the new ins and outs of it. So how do you capitalize on your your short time and resources? What's beautiful about what Google is doing is that they focus on the local market. So if you are a real brick and mortar locally, you don't have to spend so much time and effort in order to shine locally. All you have to do is share some of the stuff that goes on in your day-to-day. So every day you learn something new about your business. Just share that. Share your content and engage. The next thing that I think everybody forgets is that it's leverage. You don't need thousands of followers or tens of thousands of followers. You can have a small group of like dedicated fans, like let's say 10 people, and they have their own 10,000 followers, 1,000 follower. And then all you have to do is really engage with 10 people, and they leverage their own network. And I know Louis does it very, very well with his restaurants. So, Gary Vaynerchuk just came out with a YouTube video talking about the number of followers when someone said that, if someone has only 2 followers on Twitter, then they're a nobody. Yeah, but if those 2 followers are Barack Obama and Oprah Winfrey, he doesn't need anyone else. That's all you need. So just find the 10 people in your niche that are your biggest fans and would love to talk about you, and they'll talk about you to their networks, and their networks will talk about you to their networks, and before you know it, you have leverage. So you can do Google Plus in 30 minutes a day. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be something. If you put your content out there, if you put your thoughts and just really speak from the heart, you're going to connect with people, and they're just, going to talk about you.
In terms of, if you're talking about specifics, what would you recommend? Would you recommend people start posting just regular posts? Would you recommend they start doing videos? What specifically? I was trying to get you to, give people some
step by step,
but specifically kind of going back, not talking philosophically or a big picture type deal, which of course is always a good thing to do as well, but on a more detailed level, like what's the first couple of steps that they should do on a daily basis, and for how long to be able to get some meaningful results for them going forward?
So we're talking about businesses, right?
Right.
We're talking about a regular business. Okay, so if you're a local business, get your Google Plus local, connect that to your Google listing, and optimize your page. Have a banner, have your address, have your profile picture there, and then daily post something. But aside of that, go to your go to your clients, your current clients, and have them follow your page, and then go out and engage with them, meaning follow them and go to their pages and read their posts and comment on their post and share their information and show that you care. Show that you're a business that actually cares about his customers, their customers. So that level of engagement, just going out to other people and not just posting, will build that engagement for you. And from there, people will start getting to know you. They'll come to your page. They'll start engaging with you on your page, and they might share you as well. So optimize your own business page. Put up a banner. Put all the information that you need there. Use your keywords in your descriptions of your about, so that when people are looking for you, for your keywords, Google is going to suggest you. And then start writing daily content. You can upload pictures from your work that you're doing during that day and notify your customers that something has changed. Google Offers is awesome, because if you put an offer on Google Offers and your clients have subscribed to Google Offers, when they walk by your business, they're going to get an alert that you have an offer. So you can automatically, without doing anything else, attract foot traffic to your business simply because you advertise something on Google Offers. So look into all the Google services and figure out how to integrate them into your daily routine. But I would say, again, Oleg, the most important thing is engagement. So your people in your store, get them to your page, follow up with them, find out what they care about, post content that they care about. It's not about you again, it's why you started a business, and the business was to serve something to an audience that wants to get it. Exactly.
And just, to clarify a couple of things, if anybody is listening right now who is a real newbie, which is a new person to this whole thing, yeah, that's great. You guys know all this stuff, and you talk about all this, and Yifat talks about engaging with them and making sure that things are optimized and all of that, that still to a lot of people is kind of like foreign language. They don't understand what optimize mean. And so what I wanted to say to those kind of people, that if you don't know how to do all these things on a detail level, that's why you go out and you delegate that kind of work to somebody who does know. So you basically take and invest, which would be an excellent investment in your business, into somebody like Yifat, have her come in and consult with you to show you specifically, because right now, obviously, she cannot talk to you about your individual business because she doesn't know what your business is. And of course, without talking about it for a little while, she wouldn't know it. So it's one of these deals where it definitely makes sense that you outsource some of this work because there are only 24 hours a day. I mean, there's only so much you can get done, and you still need to run your business. So with all of this stuff and everything we talk about, how great it is, how useful it is, everything else, it consumes time. And that's to minimize the amount of time it consumes. You need to look for some help. You just want to make sure you're doing with credible people, because there are some guys who are going to come in and say, we're going to put you in the top 10 spot on Google, and we're going to only charge you $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a month to do that, and you're going to be, in the top spot on Google. Well, what they don't tell is that they have 1,000 other clients who they're giving the same pitch, and they're trying to put all of these clients, because the pitch is the same, into top 10 spots. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that there's no way you can take 1,000 people and stick them in the first 10 slots.
And another thing, Oleg, is that this is not one size fits all. So, one business will be better off with mobile marketing. One business will be best off with Pinterest, depending if their business is very visual and, mostly female population. So coming up with a marketing strategy that works specifically for your business is why you should spend some time with a strategy expert. And I think the other thing, it will actually save you money in the long run, because it will eliminate all the stuff that you don't have to do and you don't have to learn, and it will just give you, the information that you need without the shiny object syndrome,
Right.
running up to this, running up to that.
Exactly. And the beauty of using this kind of technology, as Yifat pointed out, things like Hangouts, things like that, is you can actually get some of the people that you see and trust. And of course, when I say trust, you can look at their videos, look at their interact with them to some degree before you hire them, and you can see if they're on the ball or not. But you can easily, for example, I'm doing a bunch of stuff with some clients that I have in Idaho, and the reason I'm able to do it is because I'm able to jump into their computers. I'm able to jump into a Hangout, and I'm able to then see them and talk to them, and I'm able to jump into their computer. And like if I pointed out, the help outs is the new thing from Google, where you can participate in that and have somebody who knows what they're doing assist you. There's a fee involved, like with anything else that in life we don't get anything for free unless we.
Well, sometimes you can do free help outs
and stuff. But the idea is that you can definitely, if you're interested in talking to Yifat further about your own business, feel free to contact her directly on Google Plus using her profile. She is extremely visible, and she'll be able to help you with some more. So with that going on, I just wanted to get that out of the way, and then perhaps Luis and Mark will ask questions, and then I'll ask some other questions. Luis? He can't hear me. Luis? Okay, Mark?
I'm good.
Any questions for Yifat?
Chocolate.
Unmute myself.
Okay, Mark, you go.
Excuse me. Yeah, Yifat made a very good point that that I guess the kind of strategy or approach that you pick depends on the nature of the business. But what happens if, let's say, your business is really not a brick and mortar type of business, that you don't really sell product, but you sell service? What tips would you have for somebody like me? Let's just be specific. If I'm an investment advisor looking to get more clients, what's your suggestion for optimally utilizing what Google has to offer?
So again, it goes back to optimizing your profile and letting people know who you are, but also letting Google know who you are. So your keywords will be what Google uses to suggest you to people who are searching for your content. And also, think that it's, so I'm going to mute you because I hear myself in your speakers. So we're moving from push marketing towards pull marketing. So Google Plus is very much a search engine still, and if people need information, they're going to put your keywords into the search, and Google is going to give them all the posts and all the people that are talking about that topic. So you can put your keywords into Google Plus and see what comes up. And if nothing comes up, it's actually a great sign because nobody's offering that content. Nobody's answering any of those questions. It's a great place for you to come and be the expert about that. You can do the same thing in communities. You just go into communities and find what people are struggling with. And by offering advice, you basically make yourself the expert because you don't need to tell anyone. You just answer their question. Obviously, you know what you're talking about. You are the expert. And if you continue doing that, then you're building a relationship with people. They're starting to think about you as the solution to their problems. They'll circle you. They'll come and engage with you. And eventually, they'll hire you if they know what you have to offer. So by optimizing your Google Plus page, linking to your website, linking, making sure your authorship is in place, and writing content that's help people solve their problems, you automatically position yourself as the expert in your niche. So it's more content marketing in personal relationship rather than just like, pushing yourself on others.
From that standpoint, if kind of following up on what Mark said, how do you, in your opinion, stop at some point saying that there's only so much free information you can give out? I mean, because there's obviously a bunch of people who'd love to get this stuff without paying anything for it. So how do you make this fine line between charging for something and offering free advice that way?
So Marie Forleo is the lady I follow for this kind of advice, and she has awesome videos telling you how to tell people that this is paid service versus free service. So you can always say this is a a longer answer, like it takes more time to answer it, and I need to learn more specifics. Are you interested in some free information? And if so, have a page on your website that has your frequently asked Q&A, and you can be like, here's some resources, go to my site. And on your site, of course, have a call to action saying like, if you need more of that stuff, sign up to my mailing list, and then you build a relationship from there. But I've been doing this a lot lately because I just don't have the time. So I'm asking people, is this a quick question that I can answer, or do you want to become a paying client? And if you want to become a paying client, here's how to schedule some pay time with me. First you pay, then we schedule, then we meet and hang out. And you know what? The other thing is, what are you offering? Are you offering how-tos that people can figure out on their own? Basically, like, the color of this button has changed today. Everybody know the color has changed. Or are you offering strategy in terms of like, hey, there's a new button, and this is how you can use it to drive traffic? Because the strategy will always change, and it's always very personal, and that allows you to give the how-tos, the quickies, and charge higher for the higher services.
Okay.
One thing I can add on that part is when you're selling, when you're thinking about content, okay, you have to think of what type of product or service you're offering first. You understand? So if it's just to be an example, if you are a plumber, it's okay for you to give small tips on about how to fix small things, and let me tell you, don't stop there. You can actually even teach them the whole process, because a lot of people don't have the time to do that. They will watch the video and they will still call you after, because the video is telling you that you are the person to call, okay, and that you are the person if they want to maybe more information after, or more tips, or they want to hire you, or they want to buy your product. Don't. Sometimes people tells you don't just to take your best tips and put it in your pocket and sell them after. No, give it out. Put them out there, because those best tips, or all that really good content that you have that you're trying to keep away from everybody, is the one that's gonna get more clients and more a bigger audience for you. So, think of what type of product or service you think you are offering, and go from there. And then after that, you start crafting a little mini content that if relevant, is really helpful. If it's not helpful, why are you gonna share it? So it's not gonna help you to do anything. So it has to be helpful. Yes, you're gonna give out maybe some tips and some secrets, but those secrets are gonna tell everybody that you are the expert in that field. That's what I want to add.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's so funny that how we are moving from the lack mentality to the collaboration mentality, right? From the competition to working together. And
competition.
Yeah, exactly. And so the more helpful you are, the more people gravitate towards you. The only challenge with this is that you might start showing up in people's perception as a free guide. Again, I hear that. So people might start associating you with free advice all the time, and that sucks away, your precious time. So you have to put some limits on just how much time you spend giving free advice. But Luis is doing it wonderfully. I mean, he creates posts about that stuff, and so his content is out there, the advice is out there, and there's so much of it that people know he knows what he's talking about, and then it's a no-brainer to start engaging with him and talking with him.
By the way, if everybody was wondering when I asked to ask the guys questions for Yifat, and both Luis and Mark kind of stumbled, Yifat's first name, actually, the word Yifat means beauty in Hebrew. And so what happens is, when guys see Yifat the first time, which happened to be today, that's why they kind of stumble. But just wanted to explain that.
Oh, blushing.
Okay. Yifat, going back into the serious segment of the show, when it comes to, let's say you do build a certain following, and I think it's important for people to understand that you need to try to capture as much as you can the contact information from your clients, or potential clients, I should say, and definitely existing clients, so you can communicate with them. And you do that either by having email addresses be funneled from some sort of an opt-in page. Opt-in page in English means a page that has a question for their name and their email address, because usually that's the minimum that's required. So people, if they want something, they will, definitely give it to you if they think whatever you have is of value. And a lot of times what people do is they combine the two together. They have some sort of like a Q&A sheet like Yifat talked about, and then you have that if people want to get this as a free PDF, they can just put in their name and their email address, and then they get the PDF at no cost to them. And then, of course, you capture their email, and you can start communicating. The careful thing you need to do about this communicating is that so people don't feel like you're spamming them. They're giving you their information, saying that they're interested to that degree, does not mean they want to buy services from you just yet. So the idea is there's a whole process involved in how you kind of work with that process. But the basic idea is you want to be able to engage and communicate with somebody, and that somebody, you need to keep track of who these somebodies are, and that's people who follow you, that's people who sign up for your newsletters, your tips, or whatever. So with that in mind, the next question I had was, let's say business starts doing this and they start putting some posts out, and they start doing some engagement with people, and let's say all of a sudden you always get somebody who is just a jerk, to put it mildly. I mean, there's no way to get around it. Can they put something negative on your website or on your page without any question? Will they do it? Absolutely, they will do it because they can, not for any other better reason. So how do you deal with that kind of stuff? Let's say you got your engagement machine going, you got all these people following you because of what you're doing, and all of a sudden somebody slams some stupid message in there, which of course Google Plus allows you to get rid of. But how do you deal with negativism and people who are obnoxious, to put it mildly?
Was it Jiu-Jitsu?
Jiu-Jitsu? Hire some KGB guys to go break some legs. Yeah, no. But seriously,
you use their no, but I mean it. Like you use their force, right? Like you take the energy out of you use their energy to topple them. And what I mean by that is that rather than fighting them, you dissolve that either by finding something that you agree with, or just engaging in conversation, asking them to. Once I shared a post about the relationship between Iran and Israel, and the post was a series of images, and they said, "I will not fight in your war," and rather than being a message of peace, you know, two people jumped on it and started arguing the Israeli-Palestinian situation, totally off topic, but, you know, very emotional. And what's beautiful about this, the entire community comes in to support you. So you can get your post viral and to show up on the What's Hot list just because of arguments like that. You don't have to be a part of it, but, you know, it fuels the conversation. If it's totally hateful and totally, you know, racist and stuff like that, I usually block that person. On the other hand, you can see really who in your community is with you. And 2 days ago, I shared a post about a summit, a Soulful Summit that is going on with interviews with Chris Brogan and other people to support autism. And a guy jumped in and said, I don't see any black faces in there. Okay. So a conversation started off like, okay, well, what does black have to do with entrepreneurship, right?
For autism.
Nothing. It was weird, but what was beautiful, the woman who shared that all of a sudden got tons of love from everyone around. It came like 30 comments about how wonderful she is and how the comment is great, the summit is great, and it turns from, you know, a bad thing into a great thing. So trolls are okay, as long as they're not, you know, racist, anti-Semitic.
Would you say though that I mean this is, you're talking about, you know, doing engagement on Google Plus for the sake of community and all that, but from the business standpoint, if you got somebody
who said, reviews,
you know, I mean, you had, like, for example, this morning I read one of the reviews for a dermatologist doctor that I go to, and the guy is phenomenal. It's one of the best doctors I've ever been to here in Kirkland. And I looked at some of the reviews people have for him, and there, you know, a couple of reviews are the same as I would feel, that the guy is just an amazing doctor. But one review indicated that he was not, that he was a, you know, had bedside manner and stuff like, which is ridiculous. So that's what I mean about somebody sometimes jumping in with something could be legitimate. Most of the time it's unreasonable, it's untrue. So you can certainly remove the person. It's one way to do it if we're talking about business-related stuff. But would it be better to engage in some way and try to get, you know, other people to do more positive reviews? Would it be better to try, I mean, in other words, how, because a lot of people, I think, in business struggle with this because there's so many times people do, you know, knock themselves out to provide good business, and they do a great job, and people love them, and that's that. But once in a while, you get somebody who just, for whatever reason, got on the wrong side of the bed, and a lot of the people who love you are not going to say anything because they expect that kind of service or that kind of, you know, level of competency. But if you do something even a little bit wrong, it can be completely blown out of proportion by somebody else, and they do put that in the reviews. That's what I was talking about.
Right. So you're talking about business reviews, not online engagement.
Right.
So in business reviews, again, we're all people. So coming in and actually finding out what the problem was would be the first step. If there are bedside manners, find out exactly what it is. Like maybe people have their own personal space, and you just invaded a personal space, and it has nothing to do with your qualifications. Maybe, you know, it could be just minor things. If it's a restaurant and someone had a bad experience, invite them and, you know, gift them a meal and ask them to try again. You know, there's many businesses when you call to cancel and they'll talk you into trying this again.
Right.
So doing exactly the same thing, and think about what would you do in real life. In real life, if someone comes to you and said, hey, you know, I didn't like the way you did blah, what would you tell them? Exactly what you'll tell them, put that in the reviews. And because other people who coming in will see you as human, you know, and not as very confrontational, but actually as someone who wants to help, I think this will actually boost your reputation more than lower it.
Gotcha. Excellent.
What would you do, Oleg? I'm curious. If someone comes to your business and gives you a bad
approach of breaking legs usually works well with that. And no, it's, you're right. You basically try to work with somebody, but you know, somebody sometimes they're unreasonable, and you just do the best you can. You try to do something to make up for it in some way, even though it wasn't your fault, if it's doable. And if it's not doable, it's not doable. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I just wanted to get your take on it.
Many people, you know, when you say, okay, fine, you know, come get a refund and take your stuff back, usually they'll be like, oh, I don't want a refund. I really actually do want to use you, but I was trying to, you blah blah. So just being yourself and caring about people, I think, will communicate exactly who you are.
Yeah, I don't want to consume all the questions, so I'll ask one more. I wanted to ask you, so when you look at Google Plus in terms of business doing their stuff, and because of limited time, we talked about all of that, what would you recommend the best thing to do? Should they concentrate more on posts? Should they try to set up a community for their clients only? Should they try to do Hangouts? What would you recommend as a strategy for how much time they should dedicate specifically or approximately, and then what should they be doing on a continuous basis?
If you only have 30 minutes a day, here's what you need to do. Optimize your profile. Make sure that everything, you have a banner, a cover banner, an image, your about page is up to par, and you have a few posts out there. And then every day, daily, see who interacted with your post. Go search for your target market and interact with them. So spend 20 minutes interacting and engaging, and maybe 10 more minutes posting information. And then if you have more time, jump on Hangouts. Or have a monthly hangout where you bring people into your business and show them really what you're doing.
And let them participate. Or just clients? Who would you bring?
I'm sorry?
Would you bring anybody or just your customers?
I am very much a public person. I'm a people person. So I would open it up to everyone because you never know. You might meet new clients. I wouldn't. The way I would do it, because it's Hangouts on Air, I would put the link to join the Hangout on my website, which means it's another step for people to take, and it will limit the spam and the trolls and all that stuff. So I would say that I'm having a Hangout, and the link is on my site, and people go to my site, and then anyone from my site can join me to a Hangout. And as a business owner, this is the best way for you to meet new clients before you even ask them for anything. You're showing that you're available, you're knowledgeable, you get to meet them face-to-face, and you build that interaction, kind of like stress-free, so they're not obligated to anything. And they get to know the value that you offer before you ask them for money. So, again, optimize your about page, optimize your profile, post some content to offer solutions for your clients, and then go out and engage with your clients and your potential market before you start to, try to sell them anything. And actually, on Google Plus, you cannot market very aggressively. The community doesn't react very well to that. So you have to start with offering solutions if you want anyone to listen to you.
And then also one final sub-question, and sorry guys, you're not going to be able to ask anything because Yifat needs to go. Between posting to your website, your blog, Google Plus, YouTube, all these different sources where it makes sense to have content everywhere pretty much, what would you say, should somebody concentrate on one and then just cross-post to others? Would you put different content in these different places? What would be your recommendation?
I personally don't use Facebook at all, anti-Facebook style, and I use a little bit of Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you wanted to be on all those platforms, I would use the Google Plus diet. Basically, post on Google Plus, have it automatically post to your website, and from there automatically post to the other platforms, and then bring it back to Google Plus. So all you really have to do is sign into one platform and engage there with everybody. And now that you can embed posts on your website, you don't even have to cross-post. You bring the comments from Google Plus into your website. And speaking of which, Google changed the comment system in YouTube, right, to the Google Plus comments.
Yesterday.
So, but you can embed Google Plus comments in your site, in your WordPress site. So I wonder if the next step would be embedding YouTube comments in your site and having all that integration. And if that's all integrated together, then you really, only need to be on your website because everything will be fueling there. And the beauty of that is that it will increase your analytics because people come to your site to watch an hour long of your Hangouts and engage there in the comments, and the comments populate automatically Google Plus and YouTube. So that might be the next step. I don't know.
We also put video blogs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with that, I think we're out of time. Unfortunately, you guys we just spoke too much, and Yifat needs to go pick up her baby. So, Yifat, immense pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Yifat.
We hope to see you again in the future. Definitely, we'll continue to watch your Hangouts. If people want to reach you Any last words where they should go?
I'm always on my Google Plus, but most of my resources are my GplusGoToGal.com, so you can find me there too.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure meeting you.
Likewise, Mark.
Take care.
Take care, Yifat.
Okay, guys. Well, I tell you, this was hell of a lot more interesting than our stuff. That's for sure. Speaking of, considering we're in so late with our usual hangout, do you suppose we want to move it to next week?
No, we just want to do the dividends. Let's continue with dividends. We can record for hours.
Yeah.
Well, if I do my segment, then I won't be able to join you guys for your segment because I have to.
Be your loss, but if that's what it is, that's what it is.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Perhaps we just postpone it till next week, and
the beauty of this technology is you can always watch it later. So.
Okay. So what do you propose? We go on.
Go ahead. Do the dividends.
Do the dividends. Okay, guys. I'll do the dividends. Boy, I don't know how I can compete with Yifat. But anyway, let's talk about the stuff I know a little bit about. Okay, investments, particularly dividends. Okay, what's the big deal about dividends? Well, a couple of things. All right. Number one, it's a great way for anybody to grow their investments. It's a way that companies. What is a dividend essentially? It's just a way for a company to electively, of course, choose to share their profits with their shareholders. So anybody who holds the stock of that particular company and the company decides that it's going to pay out a certain amount of money in dividends, it's essentially just distributing its profits to its shareholders. There are positives and negatives to that. Obviously, a positive is for the shareholders because they receive additional money coming in from the company besides what they expect the stock to perform, hopefully to have the stock go up. But in addition to that, they have this extra income coming in. On the flip side, for the company, that leaves them less cash to do whatever they want to do to spend on research and development and marketing and so on and so forth. So if you notice, a lot of high growth companies, okay, for example, like Google, okay, or a bunch of other smaller companies that are in the forefront of technology and so forth, they do not usually pay the dividends, and the reason is very simple. They tend to take whatever profits they generate and plow it back into the business to grow the company. But more established companies, as they become a little more mature, they realize that this is a great way to enhance shareholders' value, and it's just another way to dispense some of the cash that would otherwise they probably won't need anyway. Case in point, look at Apple. A few short years back, when Apple was still a growth story, they tended to reinvest money into the business or just hoard cash for whatever reason. Maybe they were planning acquisitions or expand their research and development. But with time, they realized that there's just way too much money to go around. They have more than enough to pay their expenses and to give these generous bonuses to their employees and their management, and there's still more enough left for research and development and so on and so forth. So instead of just keeping that money sitting in the bank, particularly if it's not earning anything, why not just give it to shareholders and reward them for their patience and so forth. So the beauty, obviously, of the dividend is that additional income that you get on top of the possible profit potential involved in the stock appreciation. Now, for people, for example, who are dividends are actually a very useful tool for a certain segment of investors. And the segment I'm talking about is the investors, the people who are relying on a certain amount of income. So they want their portfolio to generate a certain amount of income. Case in point, let's say you're a retiree who already amassed a certain, nest egg, and you need X amount of money, every month to live on. So you may still be working, or you might be already retired and on Social Security, but you need some additional supplemental income. So you rely on that income and your portfolio to generate that extra income for you. And dividends are a great way of doing that. Not only because it provides you with that extra income, but also because essentially you are leaving your principal intact. So if you have a portfolio, hypothetically, let's say over a lifetime you manage to save $1 million, and your portfolio is properly invested and it produces, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year in income and dividends, and that's the amount you draw without depleting your actual principal. So that's a valuable tool, particularly in our low interest rate environment. A few years back, when CDs and money markets and bonds were paying 4%, 5%, 6% returns, picture was a little different. But today, when the when the rates are so low, people definitely can't get that kind of returns anymore out of their bank, out of their CDs or their bonds. Dividends are a good place to go to. So particularly for people, like I said, who rely on X amount of income coming in from their portfolio to supplement their other income, like Social Security and such. So don't underestimate the power of dividends. It's just a great way to enhance your overall portfolio returns. It's also, by the way, a great way to save on taxes, because even though dividends typically are taxed at your tax rate, but if you, for example, are retired, your tax rates tend to be a little lower than they were when you were working. So obviously, your tax exposure is also, your tax bite is a little smaller. So that definitely is a big plus. So I think that's pretty much it. And I'll hand it over to the next spokesperson.
It's called a host, Mark.
The host, the next host.
No, it's okay. I have a question for you, actually. I don't know what happened to Luis, but the question I have is, so when you're picking stocks that you want to buy, should you consider dividend to be a major component of your decision?
It depends on the type of investor you are. Like I said, if you're the kind of investor that prefers a more stable, more mature companies, and you want a greater amount of safety in your account than non-dividend paying stocks, this is a good thing for you, because if you notice, a lot of these older, more established, more mature, and obviously well-capitalized companies who are paying those dividends also tend to be a little bit safer. Of course, if the market has sustains a major correction, they're not immune.
Right.
But a lot of these great companies probably are not going to take as big of a hit as companies who are not as well capitalized, because whenever a market takes a downturn or an economy slips into a recession, which is normal as we go through these various economic cycles, you do need a lot of capital to sustain you through these tough times. So companies that tend to pay dividends are usually companies that do have cash to be able to pay those dividends, and I'm sure they still have plenty left. So in the situation of a downturn, both economic and a market turn, it's important to know that these companies can survive. And this is one of the reasons why their stocks usually don't take as big of a punishment as an overall market. Of course, there are exceptions. People will always cite the examples of General Motors, which was always considered as a blue chip stock, and here we are back in 2008, 2009. The company was in such a bad shape that a year later it just went bankrupt. Okay, so there are always exceptions like that. Like I said, no one is immune, but the chances of large, well-capitalized, well-established companies not surviving a market downturn are far, far less than other companies that just don't have that kind of financial stability.
Got you. And then the dividends themselves, are they typically paid by, is it a percent of whatever you own, or is it a certain amount of money per share?
Good question. Yeah, typically dividends are paid measured by dollars per share. So a company can choose to pay, let's say $1 per share. And if you own 1,000 shares of that company, you will get $1,000 worth of dividends from them. Typically in America, most companies pay dividends quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of foreign companies pay them quarterly as well, but a lot of them also pay them twice a year. Some pay dividends only once a year. And then, of course, there are these beautiful special dividends, if you remember the ones that Microsoft paid out a few years back,
right.
which was, where they just gave away $30 billion to their shareholders in this one big dividend thing, special distribution. I don't remember what it was at the time, $10 a share or something like that, which is a nice little windfall.
So I guess the moral is, if you're looking at the dividends as part of the formula for making some money, it's more about how many shares you have versus how much they're worth. That's important for dividends.
Yeah, the price of the stock is immaterial. The only thing is that, remember, dividends are a function of the dividend yield is a function of the stock price. Example: you have a $10 stock, and it pays you $1 a year dividend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In percentages, how much is that? 10%, right? So you're getting a 10% dividend because it's a $10 stock, and you receive $1 back,
right,
in the form of dividend. So that's a 10% dividend yield. Now, imagine if this stock doubles and becomes $20 a share. Anybody who comes in now and buys this $20 stock will still enjoy that $1 dividend.
But it's only 5% for them. Yeah.
But it now only is right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So and vice versa. If the stock price goes from 10 to $5 a share and you're still getting $1 dividend, well, that's a 20% dividend. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's an outrageous kind of return. So dividends, actually, if you think about it, in today's environment, they definitely beat practically anything that's out there in terms of fixed income. No CD, no money market, and very few bonds can match an average, S&P stock dividend in today's environment, which is a good little safety cushion. Because think about it: if you bought a stock today, let's say for $10 a share,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and a year later the stock doesn't move, it did nothing, it's still $10 a share. Okay, so granted, you would have liked to see it go up to 15 or 20, but it hasn't happened. But one thing did happen: you still got your dollar dividend. You still got your 10% return in your money, even though the stock hasn't done anything. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And if the stock has declined during that period of time, at least the dividend that you receive serves as a little cushion to compensate for your loss.
So for people, like, I don't know, does BlackBerry, do they have any dividends?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I was not
I
a
was
fan
going
of
to say, for those people who invest in BlackBerry, maybe their dividends could help, but they'll probably not help much.
No, not a fan, definitely. I don't think they ever paid. I mean, these guys hardly stay afloat for the past couple of years.
I got you. Okay, well, with that, I don't have any more questions, and obviously Luis isn't asking you because he disappeared somewhere, so I'm just going to launch into my Gmail, Living Inside Gmail segment today. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oleg. I have to apologize, but I have another
By all means. By all
commitment
means.
to attend.
Catch it later. This is cool stuff for Gmail. All right.
Good to see you, and good luck.
Thank you. So we'll
Thanks a lot.
discuss the Gmail. For a lot of businesses, a lot of times people say they have Hotmail account, they have Yahoo Mail account, or they have regular Outlook with their provider. People have all kinds of different ways how to use email, and when you tell people that Gmail would be a better alternative, the typical answer is, why would they want to switch? I already have this, and I have to tell everybody about the address change. And so anyway, people usually are kind of against going with the switching of their emails because number one, they're used to it. Number two, they're they just don't want to change basically, and everybody already knows, and so on and so forth. So that's the usual story you hear from people. So what I'm going to try to do today is not necessarily sway anybody to drop all of their Hotmail accounts and quickly switch to Gmail, although you would be better off if you did, but actually show you the reasons why Gmail is as potent as it is, and basically give you the reasons why you should consider it. So with that, let me go ahead and start my little presentation here. There we go. And get rid of these things. Excellent. All right, so I want to talk about living inside Gmail. What I mean by living inside, I mean I'm going to show you practically everything you can do from within Gmail without going anywhere else. Okay? And all of you that are listening, I'm sure know that Gmail is for emails, but it's much, 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 much more than that. And so if we go here to the next slide, in Gmail you can do, as the very last point here should say, that you can do emails, because you can certainly do that, but you can also keep track of contacts. You can create groups of contacts. You can use it for chatting, sending text messages, doing chats with people you know. You can make phone calls, both receive phone calls and make phone calls from Gmail. Remember, this is everything we're doing from inside Gmail itself. All these capabilities I'm telling you about here. You can make video calls and Hangouts directly from using Hangouts part of Gmail itself. You can use SMS and send text messages to people, and that's something that in the Hangouts application they haven't re-implemented it yet, but if you use the old chat capability that you still can use, then you can still do SMS using that. So it's also all part of Gmail. You can create and post Google posts, Google Plus posts, and also you can reply to Google Plus posts right from within Gmail. You can also manage circles by looking at content within Gmail that's circle-based. For example, you can have, if you want to see all the emails that came from your customers, and you have a circle called customers, and whenever people in those circles send you emails, you can easily segregate, just look at those emails alone by clicking on that particular circle name. So it's a very potent way to segregate things and be able to look at content in a group manner, groups based on your personal preferences. You can also look at recent details for each communication and see things like what other emails were sent by the same person, exchanged with you, see what photos they posted, see what Google Plus posts they posted recently, so you can kind of see the recent stuff. All of this, and of course sending and receiving emails themselves, all of this can be done from within Gmail. And I would venture to say that I don't think there's another email application that has the breadth and capabilities that I described here, just on this page alone, that's out there. It can do all these things from within the same interface within the same application. So in terms of what you can do with the application itself, kind of the how you can massage it and make it do and look in a certain way. What you can do is you can change easily themes, and when you change themes, you're able to make it look like, the background look like anything you want. So it kind of gives it a little different look than just regular old, black and white screen. And you can even use your own pictures. You'll see when I do my short demo at the end here of my Gmail, you'll see that my Gmail looks quite a bit different than most things you've seen before. That's because I'm using my own imagery. You can have 3 different views similar to Outlook, where you can show emails, just each message, in other words, taking the entire window. You can show the list of messages on the left, and then when you click on a message, it shows the content to the right of it, what they call vertical layout. And you can also do the same thing using horizontal layout, meaning the messages are listed at the top of the screen, and then the bottom part shows the actual message you're clicking on. So there's 3 different ways to look at your content within Gmail. You can easily filter your emails and your messages there via what they call labels. And labels are very similar to folders, the biggest difference being that you can have multiple emails or messages be part of the same label. And you can also have one message be part of multiple labels. So that makes it much, much more convenient than just regular folders where you can only have one message to a particular folder. You can spread the same message into multiple labels and then be able to easily pull up content. Let's say you have a label that's date-based, so it has maybe like the month of the year, and then you have another label for people, and then you have another label for maybe the type of content. And so you can assign these 3 different labels to the same message and be able to pull it up later using the same, any of these 3 labels, as an example. And of course, you can also pull up messages using filters. Using circles. You click on the circle name, and it shows you all the messages from people that are within that circle. Very powerful. And you can also create your own filters by creating your own selection criteria, and then be able to view only messages that fit that particular criteria. You can look at the messages in a threaded or conversation mode, as they call them, or you can look at them split up. So when you send a message to somebody and they reply, and then you send a reply back, that's considered to be one conversation. And this way it'll show it kind of, you'll still be able to see everything that was said, but it's going to be bunched up into a single line. And some people like it, and some people use it, some people don't, so you have a choice to do it either way. You can see within Gmail who is online, who has webcams. It's got little icons that show you, like a little green camera means that somebody has a webcam and they're online. And if it's just a green dot next to their name, that means they're online, but they don't have a camera right now available. So you can see who you can actually do video calls with and who you wouldn't be able to. All of this, again, remember, I just want to remind everybody, everything I'm describing here is done within Gmail itself. You can use stars for each message to identify certain things. Like, for example, let's say that messages you want to get back to later, maybe you want to make them all with, mark them all with yellow stars. And messages that you want to keep without deleting, you mark them with blue stars or something like that. So you can have your own visual cues and then be able to easily pull up just the messages with those particular attributes. And this would be useful for things that you cannot assign any rules to, such as labels, for example. Maybe you have certain messages you want to get back to later, but there's no particular identifying characteristic to that message, so you do it using the stars approach. Very simple to use. You can use quick links, and what that means, it means that if you set up your own custom search, for example, or custom filter within Gmail, then you can actually have it be executable. Instead of typing it every time, you can create a little link, quick link they call it, and then you just click on the quick link and it executes it. One other thing you can do using this approach, for example, is immediately pull up a form. So you can have a form, a Google form, be directly inside your Gmail as a message, and then that message is the form itself. So you don't, it's not just a link to go to a form. You're sitting within Gmail, seeing the form within Gmail itself, and you can get to that form every time by clicking on one of these quick links. Makes it very, very convenient to use for something you do all the time. You've got keyboard shortcuts, which makes life much easier when you're doing a lot of typing. And so you can create messages, reply to messages, a bunch of different things you can do, navigate using keyboard shortcuts. Very useful. And of course, you also have this Google input tool, they call it, so you can easily create messages in various languages. And you can switch between back and forth between English and other languages and create multi-language message if that's what you want. All, again, totally within Gmail itself. Speaking about the actual messages, the content itself, you can have plain messages, just text, or you can have rich messages, or rich media messages as they call them, which is HTML messages. And you can insert, in addition to text being different fonts, different sizes, different colors, you can also insert photos, you can even insert videos. And you can actually watch YouTube videos directly from within your Gmail message itself without a need to go to YouTube or anywhere outside of Gmail. Like I mentioned before, you can have forms actually be directly embedded within your Gmail messages. You can have voicemail messages that come in from Google Voice. You can listen to them directly within Gmail. You can, if somebody sends you an address of some place, you can actually see the little embedded map using Google Maps. It shows the map right within the mail itself. You can also have basically a small gadget that shows you the latest documents that you're working on, so you can pull them up from within Gmail itself. One other big aspect of integration between different applications is the calendar. So what you can do is you can actually insert a calendar event directly into your email message, and you can view the calendar of, if the other person that you're trying to send this to happens to have a calendar, Google Calendar that they're using, you can, and they shared it with you, you can see their calendar and you can schedule whatever you're scheduling, put this invitation directly, actually seeing their calendar as part of it, so you can make an intelligent decision when a meeting should occur or event should occur. Of course, for many people, they don't have calendars, so in that case, you still can insert whatever date and time would be convenient for you. They will get it. Even without calendar, they can indicate RSVP if they're coming or not, and it's going to directly tie to your event on your calendar afterwards, so you can see if they're coming or they're not coming. Works really well. It's a great way to schedule events with multiple people directly right within Gmail. And you can also view a small calendar on the screen, on the Gmail screen, that shows you days in bold of days that are that you have some kind of event going on there, and also it shows below the little calendar itself, it shows the coming up agenda of actual events that are coming up. So it's really convenient to be able to see your calendar, even though it's a smaller kind of view, but you can still see everything. And you can actually click on a button, the little link that they have, and manually add what they call quick add an event to a calendar. So you can easily say something like, you click on the button within Gmail and you say, lunch with John on next Friday at 3 p.m. at Olive Garden. And what will happen, it'll create, just by typing that in, it'll automatically create the next calendar event for you on the right date, with the right time, and with default duration, and it's going to also put in the where, but if you type that like I indicated, put in the Olive Garden as the location, and also it will have, if you did go back to the event itself in the calendar application, then you would also see be able to easily get to the map and driving directions of how to get there. So that's integration going from Gmail into calendar, but you can still do a lot of stuff directly within Gmail dealing with calendars. You can save attachments to Google Drive. You need a separate Chrome extension to be able to do that. But there's an extension called Cloudless, which is something I definitely recommend. They did a wonderful job. It's a free extension, and it allows you to both save and also refer to attachments that are stored in your Google Drive. That way, when you send messages, you don't have to deal with some companies, for example, that do not allow certain attachments, things like that. You can totally avoid it by using this approach here. Of course, any messages you get in different languages can be translated using Google Translate capabilities, which are very potent. And it's also built in right in Gmail. Will ask you, here's a message in Klingon. Do you want to translate it? If you click Translate, it shows you the translation right there. You can also archive your messages because they give you so much space. Right now, each new account, I believe, you get 30 gigabytes of storage. It's not only for messages, but plenty of room. So you can easily store, never delete your messages. But if you wanted to get them out of your inbox view, you can easily archive them and later get back to them if you need to. And one other thing that they have, you can use AppScript, which is Google's scripting language for their Google apps, including Gmail, where you can write all kinds of different things if you know how to program, and program in Google AppScript to do all kinds of additional things. So even though Gmail itself has all these amazing capabilities built in addition to that, you can still take it even to the next step if you wanted to with some programming. So very, very important environment to be in. In terms of sending emails, you can send, we talked about plain and rich media, images and photos. You can have attachments be part of the message itself, or you can be attached, so it can be embedded in the message, or it can be attached as a regular attachment. So it's not inside the message, just shows up as an attachment when people get it. But one other thing you can do with attachments is you can actually attach documents that come from Google Drive. And if you're using that approach, then, and this is without any extension, it's just built in by Google, you can attach documents up to 10 gigabytes in size. So no other email application out there in the world would let you send something that huge. But Gmail can, not a problem at all. And so it ends up being a very convenient way where you're storing your documents, your files that you need on Google Drive, and then you're able to easily attach them by simply referencing them using the attach tool in Gmail. We talked about calendar integration with the calendar, with being able to put in invites directly into your emails. So that's part of the things that you can send emails with. Also, what you can do is if you get an extension, a Chrome extension that's also free, you're able to actually send your messages encrypted, meaning they'll come out looking as nothing but garbage letters, and then the other side needs to put in a password to decrypt them. And so that might be useful for businesses that send sensitive information. Makes it very easy to use, and at the same time, if anybody gets any of this information, it'll be useless to them without the password. And then the latest thing that they've added for a while, but not many people had the capabilities with Google Wallet. Now that it's available pretty much on any phone, you can now send money directly from Gmail as an attachment, basically. And so the way it works is you indicate you want to send some money, and if you have your Google Wallet set up with a bank account, they don't charge anything for it. So if you want to use a credit card, you pay a 2.9% fee, but if you're simply sending money from your bank account, just doing a transfer, sending money now is as easy as typing somebody's email address, indicating you want to send some money, how much you want to send, and you're done. So all these different things that are shown there, you can send all of this directly from within Gmail. One other thing I want to talk about is that you can create notes. When you create a message, if you don't send it, it winds up being in the drafts folder, or drafts label, I should say, and it'll stay there. And so you can create as many of these notes messages as you wish, and then you can also, they're all part of search and everything else, like everything else in Google is, and it makes it a convenient way to just store things that actually do not leave anywhere. So you create it as a regular message, but it ends up becoming just a note. And of course it can be totally rich. You can put in graphics in there, you can put in whatever you want in there, and essentially, eventually, if you wanted to send it to somebody, you could, but typically you wouldn't. So you just populate everything but the to field, and then you simply get out of it, and it'll save it in drafts, and you can get it by clicking a drafts label. Very convenient for quick note-taking. So it's kind of like application within application right there as well. And then one of the big things that a lot of people don't know about, don't use, is email on demand, what Google calls canned messages. And the basic use of canned messages, where I use it for, is to have different signatures. Essentially what it is, it means you can create some content in a message, and then you can save it as a canned message. And what it simply means, it means that anytime you're creating an email, if you select one of these canned messages that you've saved previously, it'll insert it in the current email itself. And so for different kinds of signatures, Google allows you to have signature as part of the settings in Gmail, but not multiple signatures. This way you can have multiple signatures with graphics and links and anything you want. So it's kind of handy for that. But in addition to that, you can make it much more potent by creating an email on demand situation, because you can tie filters, which I talked about earlier, where you can create a filter from any kind of criteria. You can tie it with one of these canned messages. So you can create an email, let's say, dealing with your particular product, one of your products, and you can have pictures in there. You can even embed video if you wanted to, text as much as you want, and you create this whole email. and then you save it as a canned message, that whole email, it winds up being a canned message, and then you simply create a filter where you say something like, anytime somebody sends you an email with the subject line of widget X, send them, go ahead and reply to them with a canned message name such and such. Each canned message has its own name. And so what will happen then, anytime Gmail gets email and that particular subject that you were checking for is in the subject line, it'll fire off that email that you created ahead of time to that person without you having to do anything. So essentially it's email on demand, meaning that people can request information from you, and you can have as many of these as you wish, and you can have Gmail automatically sending these people replies without you having to lift a finger. And at the same time, the customers get all the information. It's very similar, just more capable, like the old fax on demand approach. It's just in this particular case, they simply send you an email and they get a response. Very important for business use. It's a tremendous tool. I mean, if you have any questions about specifics of this, by all means, contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you. But it's a phenomenal, very underutilized, I should say. But it's an excellent capability to be able to, automate communication with people who are interested in your products and services. And so, definitely use that. I mean, it's a very important feature. So with that, let's see what we have next. Next, we have. We're not done yet with everything I said. As cool as it is, we're not done yet with what you can do from within Gmail. They also have tasks built in, and what you can do is you can create multiple task lists, and each task list allows you to have as many tasks as you wish, and the task is nothing more than a little description with a checkbox next to it. And in addition to that, you can have long description if you need to have one, but you don't have to, and you can easily click the checkbox to indicate that the task is done, which means it will put a line through the whole description to quickly show you that it's a done deal, so you can see which tasks are done, which tasks are not, as they call them, completed or not completed. And the resolution part is very simple. You just click on the checkbox to indicate that you're done with it. One of the coolest things about how they implemented it is you're able to tie any email to a task. So whenever you get emails, you can actually pull down a More button at the top of the screen for any email you're looking at, and there will be an option called Add to Tasks. And when you add it to tasks, what happens is it automatically grabs the subject of the email and puts it into a new task for you in the current task list, and you can do as much as you want. And then when you're looking at your individual tasks, there will be a link in the task itself to the email that it came from. So you can be looking at the list of your tasks and easily be able to jump to any email that was used to create this task with. And that, of course, makes it very convenient to deal with things later. For example, you get an email and you want to deal with it later, you just don't have the time right now, you simply add it to a task, and that's it. And since you're going to be going through your list of tasks to actually do the work you need to do, now you have a easy way to get back to it, so you can read the email and see what's going on. And also, when you complete it, you just click the checkbox on the task itself, and you're done. Very, very important way to do it. I do use it all the time. Also, it has a very nice integration with the calendar application, so you can actually have the same tasks being visible in the calendar. And the nice thing about the calendar is when you create a task, either with the email or just task by itself, you can give it a due date. And when you put in a due date, that means that that task will show up on the calendar on that particular date. You don't put the time, you just put in the date. And so when you're looking at your calendar display, you can see all these tasks that you're supposed to handle today, and you handle them accordingly. They will be at the top of the actual day display for that particular day. And you can also create tasks in the calendar application itself into the same task list. So very, very convenient, very handy. One of the things you can do is you can also create little subtasks by just hitting the tab key to indent one level. So if you want to have a main task and you can have a bunch of subtasks to go with it, you can do that. And of course, you can take any task list and you can print it if you wanted to. This would be a great use for something like a shopping list. Let's say if somebody sends you a task list, your wife sends you a task list, or doesn't have to be your wife, whoever. If you're talking about business-wise, your partner sends you a list of things you need to pick up, for the business. So you can easily email a task list to the person, and then they can take it with them on their phone or on their tablet or whatever they used to consume the Gmail with. And they can also, you can also print that list, and it'll print everything showing you what's completed, what's not completed. So a very convenient, simple way to use it. So tasks are a very important part of Gmail as well. And now what I want to do is I want to finally show you an example of how you can use Gmail to actually do a pretty important, use it as a CRM application, customer relationship management. And what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to see that you can store all the relevant details you need to have for each contact. You'll be able to add additional fields. I'll show you how to do that. You'll be able to use groups for segregating and segmenting various kinds of people you're dealing with. You'll be able to search for today's or pretty much any day's activities and put in whatever activities you want. You'll be able to easily call somebody, use the application itself as an auto dialer by clicking on a button, and it automatically dials the person's phone number. You can also do the same thing with sending them an email, and you can see wherever they're located, their address. You can see the map. Go right to Google Maps directly from this with a single click. You can put in any comments you want, as much as you want. And of course, because it's Google, which with superior search everywhere, you can search for anything. I mean, it's just really potent in terms of being able to search and find anything. And so with that, I think we're done with the presentation part. I'm going to quickly jump out here and get into Gmail and jump back in. Okay. So let's say that we wanted to do a miniature CRM system. So to do something like that, I'm going to jump and change from Gmail to contacts here. And when the contacts come up, you can have contacts be separately, or in my case here, I'm just within Gmail itself. And let's say I wanted to pull up somebody like Mark's email here. I'll just pull him up, see what comes up. Click on search, and there he is. So we pull up his record. And so if you look at his record, you can see that I have a custom picture for him, so you can have a picture for your clients. So this is CRM, so we need to have contact information. We have the name, we have his title, company name. You have all kinds of different emails you can store, and you can indicate what they are here. You can see I have a bunch of different phone numbers for him. At the same time, I have his address, and I have profiles linked directly from Google Plus for him. So a bunch of information basically that I can do. And in terms of dealing with him, if I want to send him an email, as you can see when I hover over any of these emails, I can just click on the little envelope here, and it'll drop me right into email. So that's what I was talking about, single-click email access. I can also call any of his numbers by that's strange. For some reason, it's not showing me. Okay. So there's some kind of issue here. So if I wanted to see a map, I could easily click on this little map gadget here, and it would come up with a map for Mark. With his business in Brooklyn, and I can actually see the picture, that little green sign next to cleaners. Yeah, he's not cleaners, he's the investments, but that's basically where he's located in Brooklyn. So it shows me that. And so we can do that directly from there. And typically, I don't know what the problem is right now. For some reason, maybe something with Google Voice that's not happening. But typically, you would have a little phone icon here, and when you click on it, let me just refresh this real quick just to make sure. Yeah, for some reason it's not happening here. But anyway, like I said, there's some kind of glitch that they're having right now, apparently. But there will be a little phone icon. You can click on it, and it'll actually dial the number. And it'll come up looking something like this. And then you can see that the phone number will be there. Oh, okay, that explains that. It says you're already in a call. Please end the call before. Because I'm in a Hangout right now, that's why it's not letting me do it. So you would have it. That's the reason it's not doing it. Also, as you can see, I have a little chat thing right next to the email icon, so I can also chat with him at these addresses if I wanted to. Okay, so I can call him, I can email him, I can chat with him, all from within the same deal within Gmail. And one other thing I can do is down at the bottom here where you see all these different fields, one of the fields you can actually add a custom field. So if I wanted to, I could add any field I wanted to, and call it second follow-up date. So I added that field right there, and I can put whatever content I want in there. It would be 10, I don't know, 24, 2013, for example. So here's an example where I got a custom field created, and I can create any custom field I want and call it anything I want. And then that information will be stored and available later on. So I can actually put in that who I need to contact. Like in this case, I put in a follow-up date on 9/25/2013, which means what I can do is no matter where I was sitting, doesn't really matter. Let's say I was sitting, in contacts anywhere. As you come into work, you have your contacts, you have all the contact information. You simply do a search for 9/25/2013, and what it'll do, it'll come up with a list of everybody that has this matching field. In my case, I have 2 people here that have that particular information matching. This would be your, let's say, if you wanted to contact these people today, you put this follow-up date into their record, and now it just shows you a list of all these people need to be contacted. So now if I click on Mark, it'll come up and pull up all the information for him. And like I said, I could call him, I could email him, could do whatever I needed. When I get done with him, I could do the same thing with the second person. So I could, mark one, then mark the second person, and then click on him. And then, I could deal with him and do the same kind of deal with him. If there were any links, for example, there's a link to his profile, I can also click and view his profile if I wanted to directly from here, or click here. So there's a bunch of different capabilities in terms of being able to contact these people, being able to follow up with them, and of course here are the notes. Wanted to receive sales package, or whatever you want to put in. And you can put in dates here, you can put in time. So you're kind of managing it yourself, but essentially you're doing what the CRM system would do. You're putting different activities, you're putting these dates in there to indicate when something should happen. Now that I've talked to him on 9/25/13, I can change it. My next contact should be 10/2/2013, for example. And now, next time when I search for that, it'll show me that. So essentially, to kind of sum it up, is you can contact them easily, you can put all relevant information, you can either call them or email them or chat with them or whatever directly from here, and of course you can also put in as much information here as you want. So you could run legitimate CRM type environment here right from within Gmail itself very easily using this kind of approach. That's it. That's kind of in a nutshell what I wanted to talk about. And as you can see, the Gmail is a very potent app, and it does a great job in terms of speed of delivery of emails and everything. It is web-based, which means you have access to it anywhere from any computer as long as you're on the internet. And it has a bunch of other capabilities. Just, we can, if you have any particular need to go into it deeper, we can do it. You can do forwarding, you can do IMAP accounts. You can do all kinds of stuff with Gmail. But this hopefully gives you a good overview of things you can do directly from within Gmail itself and how it integrates, kind of spreads with other places. Like one of the things I mentioned about Google+, you can actually, when people send you Google+ posts, you will see them, if you want, as notifications within Gmail, and you can reply to them directly from within Gmail as well. So very, very convenient integration, very easy to use, and very potent in many, many different ways. You can get creative, do the CRM thing like I did. You can do all kinds of different things. So essentially, if I was going to recommend a single email-based service that does a lot of stuff for you, it would definitely be Gmail. With that, I'm going to close up. I don't know what happened to Luis. I'm sure it's something, I hope it's nothing bad, but something must have happened. So we're going to have to do his segment next time. We already are way late anyway. Again, I want to thank Yifat Cohen for stepping in and sharing her wisdom with us. Always great to see her. I encourage you to certainly check out some of her Hangouts on Thursday mornings. And if you can't do it at that time, then certainly afterwards on YouTube. You can always find us here on Meet the Pros. And if you have any questions, feel free, don't be shy. And with that, you have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.